So, dear viewers, the film we're talking about now is Sound of Metal. It is it came out in 2019. Stars Riz Ahmed as Ruben, Olivia Cook as Lou, and Paul Ricci as Joe. It is written and directed by Darius Marder. So I'll give us a quick rundown. I think.
Wait. What about your tagline?
Oh, yes. Oh my God. I almost forgot my own thing. So my subtitle for the film, Sound of Metal.
Holy shit, Chris
Lucas,
Peretti is in this?
that was horrible timing.
Oh my god, I had no idea.
Lucas,
Wait,
goddamn.
who was he? Who's Harlan?
Who?
Okay, sorry.
He did the voice. I think Harlan was his sponsor, but so, oh God. Okay. I'll try this again. Sound of Metal. Van life isn't all it's cracked up to be.
I also came up with a tagline. Can I share mine?
Yeah, sure.
The
Please
sound
do.
of metal, or lack thereof.
Oh, yeah.
I got one. The Sound of Metal. I'm not ableist, you're ableist.
Oh, really? Is that how you feel about it? Oh, or is that just a joke?
I guess we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
I'm confused about your question. Okay, yeah.
I like
Okay,
mine
anyway.
the best.
Of course you do. All right. Ruben is a drummer traveling in a metal band alongside his partner Lou. They have a history of addiction and self-harm, respectively, but their simple life changes when Ruben starts experiencing rapid onset hearing loss. Ruben must contend with the loss of his way of life, his past, and his future as he learns what it means to be deaf. So the film opens with Ruben's morning routine. It's healthy. It seems like he has this down every day. We get a little snapshot of it with him waking up Lou. He does some push-ups. This is where you learn Lou has a history of self-harm, just implied by the sunlight coming through the window. You see on her arm, the scratches on her arms. Yeah, my notes on the opening is it starts loud. There's a sort of a barrage of sound, and I think that's a big part of this talking about this film is the sound design. I don't think there's a way to talk about the movie without talking about the sound design.
Yeah. The very first scene of the movie opens with him playing the drums and his girlfriend Lou. They're having a concert. And that's where everything, this whole routine you're talking about, stems from. A lot of his identity revolves around him being a drummer.
At the core of his routine.
Yeah, you see, they clearly, this is their day in, day out. They go do shows late at night, lots of loud banging, but they live a very, it seems like they have a very
loud banging.
I mean, that's metal music for you. I don't know. I don't understand.
Oh, you're talking about the music. Oh.
But yeah, there's also the opening scenes are like this very swell, like all the ambient noise and the Foley work is really pulled to the front to really emphasize the world of sound.
Yeah, and not necessarily the specifics either, just the sound itself. Like there's a scene where the characters are driving around in the van and the hum of the engine of the van almost drowns out the dialogue. It's so loud.
Yeah, I'd say the sound design can be grating, but isn't intentionally so grating because of what is transpiring. That frustration made me end up like enjoying the movie even more and made me enjoy the sound design even more. Also with this like intro scene of like the healthy routine of cooking really good breakfast for Lou, and then seeing the cuts on Lou's wrists, immediately maybe you think, is this a healthy relationship? Is it not? Not sure. Like it seems like Ruben is kind of taking care of her. To what degree is this happening?
Yeah. There is like it does like what's the word? Address, or it does open up the possibility that maybe there is some dependency here from one to the other.
And it continues to explore that later on.
Yeah. So then we're met with the sort of seminal night, the true like beginning of Ruben's journey when he's setting up the merch table that night. After we sort of saw this day, this routine, this world full of sound, it's cozy. It seems a good life for the most part. We have questions, but we're figuring this out. And then he's setting up the merch table, and all of a sudden, things start to sound quiet, and there's a high pitch ringing. And
During this scene, the score is muted and ominous. It is juicy, delicious. Something is wrong, and the audience is being clued in.
Yeah, the camera's pointed directly to his ear.
Yeah,
It's so sudden. They rip his fucking life away from him.
Yeah, and then he plays his show, and you can tell like he's playing louder, like he's trying to like, he has his earplugs in. He's going through the routine. He's gonna have his normal day, even though we know something isn't quite right. So then we're confronted by the next day, where his hearing is fucked up. From this point, he tries to have the same morning routine. We get the same symmetry of the previous day, but nothing has changed, but everything has changed because he cannot hear well anymore.
It has deteriorated insanely rapidly. And Hellboy just kind of ignores it at first.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly either in denial, in denial about it. So in the pursuit of maintaining this norm, he goes to the next show, and the important thing is he's not wearing earplugs. Oh wait, shit. He's worried about it, so he goes to the doctor first. He goes to see a doctor real quick, and
the doctor's office sets a color palette. So the movie kind of switches between color palettes, which is pretty cool. I don't know exactly what the motivation is here, but normally with scenes that are therapeutic, with scenes that are addressing his hearing loss specifically, the colors are all professional blue and white, and that's established in this first scene of the doctor's office. Other than like outside, and it's all under very even fluorescent lighting. Even later on in the movie, those scenes are shot outside under overcast days where the lighting's really even, compared to like harsh lights, artificial lights coming from all different directions at the beginning of the movie during the concerts. I don't know. I haven't really fleshed out my feelings about what that means, but it's something I noticed.
I think the doctor scene is interesting because like doctors have a hard job where they're trying not to put off any sort of like moral judgment. So like, the doctor says, who knows where this hearing deterioration came from? Was it something that was always going to be there eventually, or was it because of the exposure to loud music? We do not know. But regardless of that, your best scenario right now is to reduce the exposure to loud music. Very difficult thing, very difficult news to deliver, and then also very difficult news to
receive.
Hear. Yeah, when
to hear.
This is to receive, correct. When this is not only your livelihood, but your passion, your joy.
Yeah. And also in this scene, there's a lot of like little nuggets of wisdom embedded in the dialogue. And in this scene, you're introduced to one from the doctor who says, you need to focus on preserving what you have. He said, yeah, so, which means, like Lucas said, limiting your access to the things that you thought defined you.
Yeah. So instead of listening to the doctor's orders, Ruben decides that he's going to go play tonight's show anyway. But because he's having trouble hearing his band and Lou, he decides, fuck it. YOLO, no earplugs. I have to be able to hear. And we see as he's playing this show, the hearing, what little ping, like high-pitched hearing he has is slowly like dialing back slowly until he has a complete meltdown and walks off stage and is like telling Lou, I can't fucking hear.
They go out in the alleyway and she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And it's all quiet. You can't hear anything because of the audio, but you can clearly hear from, read his lips. He says, I can't hear you. That shit fucking scares the shit out of me. Oh my God. Which I think obviously it's the intention of the film to do that. I think that's something that scares the shit out of anyone. The idea of losing any of your senses. Oh, God.
It's also heartbreaking, just like, in a relationship, it's two independent people with their like worlds colliding, and like dealing with that on your own is difficult, but then also having to break that news to your partner and being like, how are they going to react with it? How am I going to react to their reaction when I'm trying to deal with the fact that I can't hear right now? It's overwhelming and it's daunting.
I think the exposition of this movie is fucking brilliant. They get right into the action really quickly. The hearing loss scene happens like that, and it happens within like 10 minutes after you understand all the characters. The characters' reactions to it are very characterized. Like I relate hella hard with Ruben saying fuck it and just going in and playing without headphones. He's like, I'm just gonna do this. You know, I relate so hard with that. And to see him lose his hearing in that one concert and have to break the news to Lou.
Yeah,
Heavy
it's
emotions.
devastating. It's
I
devastating, right?
felt that shit in my bones, man. Ruben's reaction to it is really admirable, though. I love Ruben as a character. I think he's fantastic.
So we transition to this diner or it's like some kind of restaurant, and he's like they're
It's a
trying to have
diner.
this converse. What?
It's a diner.
Yeah, diner. He's trying to have this conversation with her. Obviously, there's a huge communication issues because he can't hear her, and so he like kind of in frustration like storms off and bums a cigarette, which worries Lou, which we don't know why yet, but she makes him call his sponsor and proceeds into a pretty kind of funny, like it's the one of the few like comedic relief a little bit with his sponsor on the phone where he's like, I don't know, bro. I just had a cigarette because I can't fucking hear anything, and I think considering the circumstances, that's okay.
Oh, to me, that was not like comedic relief. Like, yes, I get that situation. Like, yeah, it is okay. He's bumming a cigarette. All things considered, who cares? But like, Jesus Christ, he is like Delulu, Mr. Lulu, trying to be like, yeah, I'm having this conversation. I can't hear you, so I'm just gonna keep steamrolling and talking. Everything's okay. We're all good. I'm just gonna keep on drumming. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'm with there with Lucas. I didn't think it was comedic. I thought it was harrowing.
Maybe I've seen this. I mean, I've seen the film before, so maybe I'd try to maybe found the humor in it a little bit more. Just like I guess I could relate. I laughed to it. I laughed about it as like a relatable thing.
Mm.
Oh
Like
yeah.
this leads to it becomes the sort of inciting incident that kicks off the second act. Basically, is that his sponsor puts him and Lou in connection with somewhere he can go where he can hopefully be taken care of in all the ways he needs to, which he has a lot of complex things. He has his addiction, and he has this new world of being deaf that he's trying to contend with. Well, he's not even contending with it yet. He's like barely even, he's not even ready. He's not there, but they're on their way to trying to figure it out.
Yeah, they got this guy on the phone who's gonna talk to him about his deaf stuff, his deaf situation. And there's a scene where I can't remember if this happens during this part, but like Lou is talking to him and is writing in a notebook, and he's talking about potentially killing himself. He says, "What I need is a fucking gun in my mouth. That's what I fucking need." During that, I think it's that scene.
Yeah, I think it's rated there.
It's right after. It's right after. My notes are ridiculous.
There's a scene I'm thinking of where Lou doesn't say anything to him and just looks at him. I think it might be in the diner right at the end. I can't remember. But Lou's just staring at him while he's talking to her, trying to talk to her, and she's communicating to him through her eyes. Like, just read my face, read what I'm telling you. And I thought that was really cool. Also, that scene that I was talking about with the notebook is an excellent example of how to correctly disorient the audience with editing. She has a bunch of stuff written down in her notebook that it cuts to just briefly for you to notice that it's there and go, oh, what the fuck is that? Like, what? I should be reading that because that's the stuff she's saying to Ruben. And then she spins it and it cuts to the line that she just wrote to him. And it's like, it feels overwhelming and quick and fast, but you're still clued into the context. I think that was done very well. I think the editing in this movie is generally really good.
Sorry, is this the scene right now with Joe? Joe's
No,
character?
we're not there yet. I was working my way there. So basically, they head up. They say it's going to take them a couple days to get to this location. One of the this is kind of the end of the first act. the sort of kind of one of the cool things is that they drive into the community. There's a deaf child sign, which I think is symbolic of Ruben and where he's at. Like he right now in this moment, like his whole world has shifted. He's basically been brought into this new world that he's not ready for. And yeah, this is how we're introduced to his new life.
I don't think I noticed the deaf child sign, but I had a similar experience in a later scene where there are actually deaf children. But similar thing where it's like when you're learning a new language, us as adults learning a new language, we're going to start speaking at a kindergarten level in Russian or French or whatever the language may be, and how similar it is where it feels very infantilizing having to start from scratch, and how those sort of internalized judgments can get in the way of actually learning.
This community he enters, we are introduced to Joe. Joe is the leader or proprietor of this sort of rehabilitation center for deaf adults who have addiction issues. So it seems like sort of trying to create a community of deaf folks who are all experiencing similar struggles with addiction. And Ruben is not really having it at the start of their conversations.
He is not.
Yeah, there's a cool detail where Joe reads lips. That's how he can understand what you're saying. And for the most part, Ruben is good with that. But there's a point where he like hangs his head in frustration and says something, and Joe says, "You gotta lift your head and speak up. I can't understand you when you're because I read lips." And there's a pause right there. And it's like, oh, that's frustrating, Ruben. It's just all these little things that you don't even think about that you have to worry about now that are just thrust upon you.
Just a quick note, Joe, played by Paul Ricci, he is not deaf. Most of the actors in this film portraying deaf people were actually deaf. Paul Ricci is a child of deaf parents, though. So that's why his signing is so proficient. But yeah, just a fun fact.
Do either of you guys know sign language?
No.
No, but Robbie actually grew up learning ASL. Robbie is my partner. I was taught, he didn't watch this. I was watching this on my own, and then like later on when things happen, I was like, oh my gosh, Robbie, did you know this? And he was like, yeah, you fucking idiot. Like the deaf community hates that shit. And it was very interesting of like, things that I did not realize that are to come. Sorry, I'm not trying to spoil it
I'm
early.
excited for that.
Also, another thing I want to say, so initially when the movie started, you see Lou, you see her cuts on her wrist, you see Ruben preparing like the healthy breakfast for her. It seemed like, okay, is this relationship like he's taking care of her? Like, is this a one-sided unhealthy thing? And then in this scene, he asks, how long have you been sober? Or no, how long have you been seeing Lou? 4 years. How long have you been sober? 4 years. And you're like, oh, okay, so this is some codependent, maybe not the best sort of relationship. Like it's great the fact that they're both like in a better spot, but it feels like they are dependent on each other, so it heightens the stakes with them being separated at this time.
Yeah, the movie does a great job of raising the stakes consistently for the most part.
So Ruben kind of waffles a little bit and about whether to stay or not. He's pretty convinced he's not. Like he's like, "We'll go, bro. I'll just like watch you and I'll take my cues from you. We'll just like keep going. Keep going." And Lou is not in denial. She's way ahead of him as far as emotional maturity, and she's like, "No, this is where you need to be right now." She recognizes the situation. She understands that this is the end for now. Even though he's in denial, the cab scene is fucking devastating. Holy shit. Yeah, Lou has to peace out. She has to get a flight to go somewhere else.
I honestly think she made that decision when he says he needs a gun in his mouth, because she has the self-harm marks on her arm. Clearly, she has a history with that. And hearing somebody say that when you have a history of that, it's like the healthiest thing you can do is like, okay, I'm out. Okay, goodbye. I need to take care of myself. Sorry. And
she recognizes
fuck,
that her being there is not helping him either. Like he needs to get ready for how his world has changed as well.
There's so much we could talk about in this scene.
I think I don't know. My pessimistic, skeptical ass questions whether her intentions were all good, because I think a big theme in this movie is how the deaf community feels left behind by people, and that I don't know, almost that like she didn't learn ASL, like she knew that he needed to kind of accept reality, accept what his situation is, and adapt to that. But she wasn't going to adapt to that. She wasn't going to learn ASL to be able to communicate with him easier. She kind of was like, you need to figure this out. This is your journey. Bye.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Part of me wonders how altruistic that decision was.
Do you think it was the right decision?
I think it was. Ooh.
Well, her staying there wouldn't have helped him at all. Like he wouldn't have been able to learn because he would have relied on her too much.
True. I think she could have learned ASL though. I think she could have learned how to interact with him if she was genuinely wanting to deal with this situation as a couple. I don't know.
Seems a little unkind, but I mean, I get it. I think
that was my first reaction to the scene was, what are you doing? Like, you're just leaving him? Damn.
Yeah. I think maybe just usually that's how like rehab and stuff works though. Is like they extremely limit your contact with the outside. Like Ruben wouldn't have been able to stay there if Lou was staying in town. And as far as like her learning ASL, yeah, I mean, I guess it does come down to her own journey that she's on too. And maybe it wasn't a reality she was ready to contend with, obviously. So, I mean, I don't think Lou's necessarily a bad character, or a bad person for it, but I do think it's reasonable for her to think about herself in this moment because clearly, like, Ruben's not in a good space. And him not being in a good space is putting her in a bad space. So I don't think I blame Lou for her decision, but I guess we're getting into chopping it up a little.
I agree with this specific situation with her suicidal tendencies and his suicidal ideation. Yeah, she should get out of that situation. She should not be around it. But take that out of the picture. I don't know. It feels like she's like, okay, go to the deaf community, figure out how it is. I'm going to continue living my life, instead of figuring out how they can, as a team, deal with that. I don't know.
Yeah, a quote that is said by the person who Lou calls at the beginning to hook Ruben up with this accommodation. They say that serenity is something that happens when you stop wishing for a different past. I don't know if that applies here or if that changes either of your minds on the matter.
Well, I mean, that's the serenity prayer. That's part of like AA and stuff. Usually that's part of Lucas, why are you so judgmental? Fucking Jesus. People getting help? Like, goddamn.
No, it sounded like you were saying like that's part of AA, Ben, you fucking idiot. Like,
I didn't know that.
No, I know, but it sounded like you were saying like, duh, obvious.
No, I wasn't. I was really not. I was saying like in case you didn't have the context. Like it's the Serenity Prayer is a huge part of a lot of AA. Narcotics Anonymous as well.
I think that the movie does an unbelievably good job at portraying the essence of addiction. In a way, the movie's about addiction, and nobody uses, spoiler alert, nobody uses drugs in this movie, at least on screen, you know. But I think Lou recognizes that they're kind of addicted to each other.
Codependent, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That if either of them were to leave, their lives would be ruined, and so you need to do that now when you have the support system. I don't know. It's very complicated. It's very complicated, very real. It's hard. It's hard when like these events take place to like this could be a true story because like I don't know if I'd offer the same advice to real people that these characters. The way these characters treat each other.
I also want to state, like, Joe or Paul Ricci's character initially states this. I wrote this down, and it will come up later in the movie. But he talks about how this is a deaf community that essentially their community to try to find community, not to fix anything that is wrong, because there is not in their mind anything that is wrong. And that will continue throughout this movie. And that was the thing that Robbie yeah, Robbie was like, duh, like deaf people and cochlear implants, not really the best thing.
Yeah, I guess that is something we forgot to mention. While Ruben is
Oh
at
yeah.
his initial doctor's interview, the doctor does let him know about the cochlear implants that are very expensive. So, in the background of Ruben's journey, he is thinking about the money that it's going to require to fix him, because this is his perspective on it at this point in time, is that he can't get back to his old life until he has the money to get the surgery. But I
And
digress.
it is worth noting that they use the terminology "fix" in the movie, like he's going to fix himself.
Yeah.
And when an addict talks about, getting their fix, this movie is very, very does a very good job at communicating the essence of addiction.
So I want to jump into the next act, but Lucas, you had one more point.
I know. I just wanted to say, like, that is kind of what I was getting at with my like little tag tidbit. Is his like, oh, I'm not ableist. Like, he's like, I'm just trying to fix something. That's not ableist. I'm not ableist. What are you talking about?
Okay, I got it. I thought you were like implying that the film was ableist, and
No,
I was like really
no.
struggling. Like, what?
What the? No. He's struggling with his internalized ableism.
So I'm gonna cut forward just a little bit. There's probably some small scenes here and there, but Ruben starts his new life, his new routine. This is overwhelming. It's very clear. I think the scene that illustrates this best is his first dinner for him, where to him, the table is completely silent, but then you get this pull out where you get the sound and you get this more of a visual view of the whole table, and you see how boisterous it is, how full of life. Like, there's so much communication happening, there's so much life here, but Ruben doesn't get any of it.
I have to say, as like a little side note tidbit, when slightly before the scene happened, so there was the dinner, right before that was like the community meeting. When I was watching it, I was like, oh, it went from, having some sound, even when he wasn't able to hear, you could kind of hear some like background sounds or some like ambient noises. But it went completely silent. And I was like, oh, wow, what an interesting choice that from this scene all the way to the dinner scene, there's literally no sound at all. It's completely absent of sound. And then I realized that my headphones died. So I think that just means I'm a pleb, and I was just like, ooh, what an artistic choice.
That's a really funny story. I like that story a lot.
That's
No.
hilarious.
No.
I will say that dinner scene when they pull out to the wide shot and you hear all the noises, I had to mute it because it triggered my misophonia.
Oh.
Lots of
Like
lip smacking.
I didn't even hear that. Interesting.
Yeah. So for those of you in the audience who have misophonia, watch out. Keep the mute button handy when you're watching this movie.
Yeah, I could see how that would be challenging. Ruben, he's introduced to his new routine. You get that he's told that your only job, everyone has jobs around here. His only job is to learn sign language.
Learn how to be deaf.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just
Oh, yeah, that's right.
realized that scene where he's fixing the roof
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, you don't have to fix anything. That just clicked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although in that scene, it's like, yes, fix the roof. Like, I get the allegory, but the roof does need fixing.
But it did just that does come immediately after a scene where he goes upstairs to look at his emails so that he could see how his girl's doing.
He is distracting himself versus yeah.
Yeah, instead of contending with where he's at, like doing his one job, which is to learn sign, he is looking for ways, for glimpses back at his whole life, that thing he's addicted to, his routine, getting his little fix of the outside of his past. Yeah, he's looking for anything to do. And so Joe makes him get up in the morning super early. He gives him a donut and some coffee and tells him to write, and he doesn't care what he writes, just write until you have stillness, which is another big theme in the film, is like this idea of like peace or serenity, again, serenity prayer. And he's like in this anger mode. He's in the part of grief where he's angry and he smashes the shit out of this donut. Like, oh my God, he completely deletes this donut.
Yes, very satisfying.
He then squishes it back together and then hits it again. It's so funny.
When he was squishing it back together, I felt that. I felt that very, very deeply in my soul.
I was hoping he'd eat it.
Yeah, I feel a little unsatisfied. I was ready for him to like pop it in as like one donut bite, but anyway.
Also, like, I don't know. I don't know. He's dealing with his emotions in his way, and no, this is gonna sound dumb. Okay, never mind. I'm good.
Speak your mind.
There's a part of me that's like, so I shouldn't even be saying anything. I'm a person who can hear. But like he is dealing with his emotions, and what is the one thing that men are allowed to express in terms of emotion? Anger. Like anger is okay. Anger is the way to be. Anger is manly and masculine, while other emotions are not. And that frustrated me, but at the same time, it's like this is real. This is what somebody who's going through this would be feeling, processing all these complex emotions through the only way that they have societally been told is okay. Anger. I wanted to see more from it, but
I also think
just
anger is a completely reasonable response.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very
yeah.
yeah, like I wouldn't say that comes from like a toxic masculinity place, really. I just think, you can be angry. Not anger isn't inherently toxic. I mean, he shows a lot of
100%.
emotion talking to Lou. He like seems devastated. Like there's a lot of different emotions. I don't know if that I guess I don't connect with that take.
I'm gonna sell stock in that take.
Yeah, I'm selling sell that take. Anyway, it's fine.
You're shorting that take.
I'm shorting the take. It's gonna crash eventually. Man. Okay, so we get a few little like montages and stuff, but I think the scene that really sticks out to me in this part of the film is there. He's been taking classes at it seems like there's a school for the deaf that's that's part of this community as well. And so he's been introduced to this class and he's been learning sign there, as well as taking some adult sign classes as well. But a big part of him being in this community is working with the kids. And there's a event happening where there's a kid who's getting a little antsy and he can't really like sit still. And so Ruben offers to take him outside and they start playing on the slide and Ruben starts drumming for him. And to me, this is the first point of a little bit of acceptance in the film where Ruben is actively trying to communicate with another deaf person using his hands in like this really symbolic way. And he's doing it in the only way he knows how, which is to drum. And I think that's like fucking sick. I think it's such a good scene.
Yeah, I agree. It's so cute. It's therapeutic. And I think it's also really cool that he drums on the slide and you hear it from the muffled perspective of him first. And then it pulls out and it's even quieter. It's like really gentle the way he's doing it. And it only sounds that loud because the kid had his head laid against the slide and could feel the vibrations in his head. And I think that's a subtle way of saying oftentimes you can communicate more effectively, you can communicate more emotion via ASL, non-verbally. I mean, that's something that Riz, what's his name? Riz Ahmed talks about. He said after learning ASL for this movie, he noticed that he responded to things more emotionally. He responded to things more emotionally, non-verbally. He picked up on body language better. He noticed a difference in his communication and his communication style. And it's such a subtle way of hinting at that in this scene, but it's effective. You pick up on it immediately. It's fucking brilliant.
No, I think that makes sense because like you can say fuck you, or you can say like fuck you. Like you can have so much more emotion within body language. It adds so much context to it. I think this is a beautiful scene. I love how he is learning to accept, like he is starting to accept things like change trajectory at this point. And he's doing this because of his community roots, or his roots in his community. I'm not gonna lie, a little part of it is a little cheesy. It's like, oh, he finds the rhythm again. The musician finds the rhythm. But it is cute in the way that it happens.
You're on some hater shit. This scene's great.
I am on some hater shit because it's like, I'm like, oh, a musician goes deaf. Let me guess, he finds his rhythm eventually.
Well, he didn't really. He never lost his rhythm.
It's just him communicating in the way he knows how.
Very true.
So I'm gonna rattle off some scenes here.
Well,
and then
you'd
maybe
have
we-
to, because this is, in my opinion, the weakest part of the film. This
Interesting take.
so this is my take on.
Oh, I agree.
Oh, okay. Yeah, from this scene up until, which I'm sure you're going to get to, and I'll let you explain it yourself, but he's offered a permanent residence at this
Yes.
place. From this scene to there, the plot basically goes into hibernation. Nothing really important happens. You just kind of are given a montage of the character
He's
living
healing and
well.
accepting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean like it basically is a montage.
He beats a child at ABCs.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, he
so I'm gonna
smokes that kid.
Fuck that child.
Okay, so we have him walking and signing for the first time. This is the first time we.
Donut, and he smokes the.
Yeah. All right. We find
I'm sorry.
notable things. He starts sign. He's on a walk. He starts signing to this kid, and it's also the first time we get the sign language getting subtitles because Ruben now understands a little bit. That's important. We get the parallel with the
Detail I didn't
second.
pick up on. That's really interesting.
Yeah, get wrecked, nerd.
Yeah,
Second dinner scene. Ruben is finally a part of it. This is like very short order after. And once again, it's now loud, but Ruben is a part of it. It's family. It feels very much like a family gathering. And now we cut to the scene where Joe offers him a chance at a permanent place in this new life, this new family.
which is a stark change to the rest of it because it's actually a plot point, because you can tell that the proposition has an effect on the main character by being offered a permanent residency at this place. That is, in a metaphorical sense, an indicator that you've permanently separated from your old life.
Yeah.
And
This
that's
is now your
difficult.
new life.
Yeah, and that's difficult for the main character to accept. He's still throughout. There's a couple scenes we didn't mention before where he sneaks off to the in this it's not a compound, in this community. You're not allowed to speak to anybody out on the outside, but he sneaks off to the attic and uses a computer to email Lou and to watch her perform on YouTube and stuff like that, which is a big no, but he still does it. And that's just to keep you clued in that this character has not fully accepted his break from the past.
And Joe says something important. He's like, you're important to people here. And I think you're probably starting to feel that, and that you're maybe starting to think about the future.
But then
But then he gets
he
pulled.
sells the RV.
The thought of the future has that addict mindset, pulling him back into his past, into his old way of life. So he hatches a plan to sell everything he has on the DL and go get the cochlear implants.
I love in this scene, like, he's not saying like, hey audience, I'm gonna get the cochlear implant. Watch me sell some shit. Instead, he's selling the RV, and you can tell he's leaving the back door cracked with the whole like, oh, but I'm only gonna sell it to you at this cost, at this rate, if you allow this clause where if I can pay it back within a certain amount of like weeks, then I can buy back the RV at a 10% increase.
Yeah.
So you can already tell, like, yeah, he's kind of devolved.
Yeah. He hasn't let go of the past. He still feels incomplete.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a really important component of the essence of addiction, which is what the movie's talking about a lot. I will say, I think his decision not to stay permanently and to get the cochlear implants and all that doesn't feel, I don't know, I don't buy the character's motivations as much as I should. I'm willing to give the movie a lot of grace because of how much I love the character up until this point, but there isn't a whole lot in the film that indicates that he would make that decision.
Oh, I would buy it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm buying. Yeah,
His code. I'm buying all the stock.
I'm buying Lucas's stock. buying
But
Lucas's
like,
socks,
here's the
selling
thing,
Ben, selling
here's-
Ben now. The
here's
market's
what
crashing.
fucking
Shorting Ben,
precedes that.
shorting Ben.
Here's what precedes that is fucking 25 minutes of him getting along with a bunch of deaf people and being happy.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, he's just like, oh, well, there is
It's not out of
addiction
nowhere.
works.
It's not out of nowhere, as you said.
It is out of nowhere.
As you said, during this entire time when he's doing his like little "I'll get better" montage, he's also going up to the office, sneaking away.
That doesn't happen during that montage. That happens before the montage.
Okay, girl, what happens before the montage and his entire life before this? He has this codependent relationship with Lou, where it is like an addiction. It is this thing that gives.
And then you watch him fucking thrive in this environment for 25
Yeah.
minutes of screen time.
But that's like saying to an addict, like, I don't know,
Like,
being able to get sober without any of the substance in the environment versus being able to be sober with the substance in the environment and actively saying no to that substance. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay.
Like,
It's okay. You're right, Lucas.
All I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, it's not a deal breaker. I just think it's a
It's a
mistake.
problem you have with it, though.
Yeah,
Fair.
there's something they could have done to indicate that it's on his mind.
Fair. I'm just saying it's like an alcoholic being at a place that doesn't serve alcohol and getting sober there versus an alcoholic going to a brewery and being like, I'm just going to get the grilled cheese and be happy with that. It's two different situations.
What?
Lose the
Anyway.
alcohol. It doesn't matter.
So, regardless of that, I think we've figured out who has what take on that. Basically, his failure to find stillness leads to him choosing this path. He goes and he gets the surgery. Man, the scene where he comes back and meets Joe, holy shit.
Yeah.
What a scene.
There is an important scene to mention, which is after he gets this.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's later because he gets.
Yeah. He
and then
hasn't.
activated it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it takes 4 weeks to activate. So he has had the surgery, but it is not activated. So he goes back and talks to Joe. Yeah,
And
and it's
basically,
heartbreaking.
it's fucking devastating.
He
Like,
is saying like, "Hey, FYI, I want to be transparent," which is good for him. Like, I got I did the deed, as he says, and Joe's like, "The deed? What do you mean?" The implant, and he's saying, "Hey, it's gonna be 4 weeks before I get this activated. Can I stay here until then?" At which point Joe's like, "I'm sorry, but this community, your actions, your influence impacts so many other people. I couldn't do that." Like that. Ooh, ooh. Which, like, I get those kids. They're growing up. They might not ever have the means to get the implant. You know, the implant isn't, as we will discover eventually, isn't always.
Isn't what you expect.
Yes, thank
It
you.
isn't what Ruben expects. I mean, they tell him from the very beginning that it's not going to fix your hearing, but he categorically refuses to accept that.
yeah, I mean, it's part of the denial. Like, it's part of the denial. Like, he's been in a constant state of denial. And no matter how many steps forward, he's willing to take these big steps back because his underlying denial about the place he's in. But yeah, the last thing he does in this conversation, which is the worst part, is that he asks Joe for money.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
brutal.
That's
Absolutely
hard.
brutal. And Joe says, "You know what, Ruben? Your behavior right now, you're behaving like an addict."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't he say that before he asked for money?
I don't think so. No.
Oh,
And then he confirms it, and then and I think Ruben feels ashamed, like like when he says that, he's like, "I haven't. Oh shit, I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
it's every addict's favorite thing, being called an addict.
He's addicted to the noise. He's addicted to the noise, the clatter. He's not ready for stillness.
He's not ready for stillness, and I think he's like, I don't know, he's addicted to the attention of human society, of like them
He's
being able to
addicted to the
communicate with
past.
you. Yeah.
He's addicted to
Lou.
the routine, to his little routine that was prim and proper that he had, and he's mad at the world that it took it away from him, and he wants to do anything to get it back. He can't just accept that things are different. And rightfully so, you know? I'm right there with you, buddy. That shit is not easy. Fuck.
I mean, to be honest, watching this before the next scene transpires, when the activation happens. So again, I talked about this with Robbie, and Robbie was like, "Oh yeah, cochlear implants in the deaf community are not hand in hand. The deaf community doesn't always view the disability as being a disability, as being something that needs to be fixed. But for me, as a hearing person, if my hearing went away, yeah, my instinct would be immediately like, how do I get back to the hearing world? How do I get to this? So I get like where he is, but like, oof, the next scene is a fucking reality check.
Yeah. Notable thing before we get to the doctor, he shaves his head. Symbolic.
Mhm.
New life. Change of, change of state. Cutting your hair in film is always.
You're our new person afterwards.
In
Yes.
film and in real life, are you kidding
And in
me?
real life, true. So yes, he shaves his head. He goes to the doctor's office. He gets his hearing implants activated. Unfortunately, to someone who was a previously hearing person, it sounds really distorted. It's really unpleasant. It's very high pitched. It's quite unpleasant to listen to, which, again, from a sound design perspective, is a really good choice.
1950s radio session, basically.
They did the scene where they turn the implants on, and in the doctor's office, his face lights up. He's like, "Oh my god, it's back! Holy fucking shit!" And then he realizes he can't understand what the person's saying, and he realizes he's right back to when he first lost his hearing. He's just putting himself through the same shit that he
Yep.
did before, like an addict does. God, this
Yeah.
movie's so fucking good. Yeah, that's that scene. So the scene with Joe hit me really hard, but this scene also hit me just as hard. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude. Oh my god.
I think that's
Oh,
because we haven't had to deal with that. We have hearing. We haven't had to deal with not being able to hear.
So now we're entering this. We've been in the third act, and the world is all of a sudden is loud again. And damn, does it suck? It is rough. So basically, pretty shortly after this scene, he flies to Paris, where Lou is from her dad's French, so she flies to Paris to see Lou uninvited. Little weird. Not good. This is continuing his addict behavior. He shows up to Lou's house, like injects his life back into hers. She's not there. Her dad is, and they have a awkward few conversations together. Holy smokes. He's like, "Do you want breakfast? I'll make you breakfast. You must be starving." And he's like, I don't know. And then they're like, "Yeah, I don't know. It's more pain. Like you can just feel the heartbreak coming in these scenes."
I guess I didn't know where Lou went. I must have missed that. So I was like, is this her sugar daddy or something? Like when he was like,
same, actually.
you took her away from me. I was like, oh, this is
I thought it was an ex-boyfriend. And then he
Yeah,
started
yeah.
talking about her mom.
Did you
and I
see
was
the
like,
age of that
"Oh."
gentleman?
got it. But yeah, heartbreaking because, like, to be honest, as soon as Lou left Ruben, part of me was like, yeah, she is not learning ASL. She, like, yes, okay, she's getting out of a situation where there's suicidal ideation as someone who is suicidal. Perfectly understandable. But she's also not, like, adapting to this new world with her partner. And so it feels like Lou, she's been gone. She has been living another life. Who knows
Yeah.
who she will be at the end of this
You
process.
see that when he goes to check his emails, he looks at her
Yes.
YouTube channel and she's performing alone. There's clear indications, but he's in denial. He's in denial about so many things.
He thinks he'll come right back and everything will fit back together like a glove. But
Yeah.
life's a bitch.
Here's the thing. I don't think and this is getting kind of speculatory, but I don't think he thinks it's going to go back together. I think he hopes it will.
Yeah,
and he's
I think that's
willing
a
to try.
fair point.
For sure. Yeah.
He really wants it to work, because it's really all at this point. It's all he has. Like he's fucked up his new world, and his old world. He sold literally everything. So
Yeah.
Lou is kind of all he's got. So
God, I asked you if this movie was gonna be sad.
it is sad, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
God damn, bro.
So then Ruben and Lou meet back up. They're very happy to see each other, which is kind of a sweet moment. And then the party for her dad, basically her dad is having a little shindig downstairs that they should go down and attend, show their faces at. This is the third dinner scene in my mind, where he is once again in a place where he does not understand what's going on. He's basically just an unpleasant reminder of a different life at this party.
Yep. And the song they're singing was written by Lou's dead mother who committed suicide, and it's full of pain. The father thinks that it's a good idea to play it at the party.
The implant is overwhelmed by all the stimulation that he can't make sense of any sentence of any conversation.
And I think that's notable because he can't make out any of the details, but he can feel the pain.
Mm-hmm. He also literally probably can't understand any of the conversations because everyone's speaking French.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then Lou apparently just learned French all of a sudden.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, I never thought about that. That's good. That's good. Good point.
My question.
You're the one that said it, Mitch.
No, Lucas made that Lou took the time to learn French now that she's back in Paris.
And not
ASL.
Not ASL.
God, can we get to the part where the movie's not sad anymore?
Okay. I'll try to get through it.
Even at the end, it's sad. Are you kidding me?
The end is uplifting, Lucas. Okay, so they have this. The party's over. Ruben has this deluded conversation with Lou about getting the band back together and all these things, and you just feel this release from him. Like she's like trying to spin her wheels, figure out like how she's gonna let him down, and you feel this tension just ease, and he's like,
well,
it's okay.
No, what she starts scratching herself compulsively, and it was
it's like, and that's what triggers him.
Scars.
Yeah, and that's what triggers him to be like, Jesus Christ, I am so fucked up here. It's okay, and I think they both realize that they still love each other, but this doesn't work for them anymore.
And like he says, "You saved my life." She says, "You saved mine too," and it's implied that that's something that you only need to do once.
Yeah, exactly. So the last scene of the film is Ruben sitting on a park bench in Paris with the world very loud, and it's grating, and he unplugs the hearing aids.
He unplugs the cochlear implants when a bell indicating the top of the hour rings, which is indicating it's time. It's time, Ruben.
And then the world becomes quiet again, becomes peaceful, and for the first moment in the film, he is still.
It's essentially like a college degree. Thousands of dollars for nothing.
Yeah, right?
I wanted to leave on a quote before we get into the final thoughts and stuff. This is from earlier discussion with Joe about the future. He says, I wonder, all these mornings you've been sitting in my study, have you had any moments of stillness? Because you're right, Ruben. The world does keep moving, and it can be a damn cruel place. But for me, those moments of stillness, that place, that's the kingdom of God, and that feeling will never abandon you.
It's fucking beautiful. This movie accomplished something, which I think is a public service, which is making you feel less scared, like becoming deaf, significant life changes such as that. I wish we lived in a world that was more accommodating to people with conditions like being deaf, being blind, being in a wheelchair, all kinds of shit like that. I wish our world was a place where you didn't have to worry about that shit so much because we collectively made everybody's lives easier, including yours. But there is something to be said about looking in yourself and being comfortable with anything that happens to you, including that. And this movie made me less scared for something like that to happen. And fuck, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that this movie, one, it made me question a lot of things in terms of like, again, I didn't really understand this concept of like some deaf people do not believe, they need to be fixed, that there is nothing to be fixed. And that a way to look at what people would see as a disability as just another way of living. And I think it was good to question my own beliefs and my own thoughts, and then not to like make everything about me, but the movie also did hit me up with similar vibes of like internalized homophobia in the same way that Ruben has been struggling throughout this movie with internalized ableism, and kind of that process of like fighting yourself and how that looks and the process towards acceptance.
Yeah, I think this film is a triumph. I think it's beautiful. I think it's honest. It's one of my favorite films. I'm really glad I got the opportunity to share it with you guys and talk about it in such depth. I think it was a really cool experience. Yeah, this is a 9 out of 10 for me, boys. I don't think I can go a lot higher on movies than this.
Is it your favorite movie?
No, it's just up there though. It's like top 5 for sure.
I think it's a solid 8 out of 10.
I would agree, 8 out of 10 as well.
Nice.
The Sound of Metal. Yeah. It's been on my watch list for a really long time.
Cool, boys. I would stick around and chat about the pod's quality, but I gotta go to bed.
That's
Yeah,
I
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay. We could all talk about the quality later on and shit.
All right, love you guys. I had a really good time.
Okay. Bye.